Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of History After Hours. My name is Kevin Pumphrey, and with me on the panel is Miss Emily Diedrich, Mr. Lewis Jolly, Mr. Ron Franklin, and we have a special guest, our returning champion and legal advisor, Mr. Jeremy Nixon is back with us. We are recording this live on October 3rd, 2024 at Collective Coffee and Tea in Hot Springs, Arkansas. We fielded some great questions concerning a variety of topics, from historical figures to life skills to a few would you rather questions, and we had a great time. So with that, we hope you enjoy the podcast. All right, welcome to Collective Coffee. This is History After Hours. It is Thursday, October 3rd, and we have some students that are going to ask some questions, so state your name and ask the question.
Awesome.
My name is Emily Williams, and I would like to know what you think the most valuable life skill you could have as an adult is.
Public speaking, which is what you just did, is a great one. That's a really valuable life skill. I got my job by public speaking in an interview. And I understand we live in a digital age, and the more you sit in your room, the more fearful maybe that gets to publicly speak and more anxious. But if you have a class that has discussions or will let you talk, I encourage you to talk, because that's a good muscle to work as you get older. There's no negatives to being able to speak publicly.
At what point in your life did you feel more comfortable doing that? Something that you developed early, or when you went to
about 3 weeks ago?
About 3 weeks ago. Okay, yeah.
No.
So
no, I did when I was their age. I didn't say a word in class. It wasn't until I was forced to, basically. But I could sing, and I think that helped, being able to sing in front of people. And then eventually, I thought, well, I could talk. So, yeah.
I mean, I was painfully shy when I was a kid. I mean, almost to the point of being backwards. What's wrong with that boy? He won't say anything. I mean, I remember being in class and the teacher would call me, and I would just like, oh, geez, I would sink down, my face would turn red. And if you had told me when I was, grade school, even middle school, maybe even early high school, like say ninth grade, that you're going to speak for a living, I would have laughed in your face. There's no way. There's absolutely no way that I would do that. But now it's like, you can't shut me up, and I don't know where that switched exactly. But yeah, I agree. It's one of the most important life skills you could actually have, because you never know when you may be asked to speak in front of groups of people. Whatever job you may have to address folks, team leaders and stuff like that. So
I would say outside of that would be basic problem solving skills. Just being able to look at something and figure out how to. I'm not necessarily saying in a mechanical or construction sense how to fix something, how to look at a problem and say, okay, what can I do to solve this problem? In my chosen profession, what I do not like to see, or what irks me bad, is when someone asks me to do something, I say, well, have you tried to do it? No. Why not? I don't know how to do that. Well, how the hell do you think I figured out how to do it? No one taught me how to do it. I just looked at it and said, here's a problem, find a solution, and think your way through it. Just sitting back, staying calm, observing whatever it is, and say, well, maybe we can do this, and we do this, we do this. My granddaughter says every time something breaks, she goes, don't worry, Papu can fix everything. I cannot, but I have, I'll look at it and say, yeah, come on, we'll figure that out. And I think that's key, and it doesn't matter what it is, any sort of problem you have, trying to stay calm, look at a situation, and just work your way through it.
Let me throw back at you like I did for Kevin. Like, when did you learn to be handy?
When I was young, we grew up very poor, so we did everything ourselves. And I think maybe because I grew up poor, I have become what my mother would say, very cheap.
Industrious.
But I enjoy just looking at stuff and trying to figure things out. And so I would be the guy. Y'all know what G.I. Joe toys are, right? The little guys, I would take them apart and put little different parts, put a head on this body. And every toy I ever had, I tore up.
You Sid from Toy Story?
Yes. No. Yes. Okay. But, yeah, and just like that. And then say, hey, what do we do on this? Well, let's talk about it and figure it out. And I think that's one thing I love about the other, teacher and a coach. Coaching is problem solving on a daily basis, minute by minute in a game. What's going wrong? How do we fix it? And I think that's why I enjoy that part of it so much.
One of the things that there's a trend now that Gen Z entering into the workforce is getting fired at a faster rate than any generation in previous history. And it's because they don't have interpersonal skills. They don't know how to actually face-to-face interact and converse with people. And so I think if you would have asked that question, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, that wouldn't have been my answer, but I think it is now. People are so wrapped up in their device they can't communicate just general small talk, the ability to have a conversation about nothing. That awkward silence, it's because you make it with your phones, right? You're with your friends, but all of you are on your phones. That's what it's turned into. And, you text people across the classroom because you can't get away from the device, for 45 minutes. And so I think that right now is one of the lacking skills that we're seeing.
Just the simple art of conversing.
Right.
I have heard people say, they're texting back and forth. And I was like, why don't you just call? Wouldn't it be faster? And he goes, well, I need to think about what I'm going to say. I'm like, that's not conversing. Like conversation is like spontaneous give and take, And so I wonder, and you guys, the younger ones here in the audience, do you feel that that's something that your generation's facing? Is that something that you're dealing with, or are you better at it than we think? Nod yes, you think that's a problem? Okay, they're nodding yes. Almost everybody's nodding yes in unison.
I bet you if you asked them to text you, you would get a lot of answers.
I was say, you can't get a nod or a shake, but you can get a text.
Text me later. Yeah. Oh, no,
I think, though, that fits into what I was thinking, though, because I was thinking more like social emotional skills. And a really big one I think is important is being able to admit when you're wrong. You're in an argument and you're just fighting, and then you realize you're wrong, but you're going to keep fighting because you don't want to admit you're wrong. Just learn to admit you're wrong, learn to apologize appropriately and correctly. I think that's a really important skill.
That's a great one.
Taking ownership of
yes.
mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
In a relationship as well, not just interpersonal and...
My name's Jack Turner, and I just want to know y'all's most unpopular opinions. Anything.
On unpopular opinions.
I already know it, yeah.
That's gonna take
how do you feel about Taylor Swift, Nixon?
Better lately.
Really?
Yeah, it is. Surprisingly. Yeah.
But yeah.
That's going to take some thought, dude.
So I know that my wife and a lot of people our age really like the movie Grease, and I've heard about it my whole life, and there's nothing in my brain that even wants to attempt to watch that, to watch John Travolta dance around, and something about the 50s. And I mean, it's supposed to be one of the best movies.
I can't believe you haven't seen it, actually.
I haven't seen it, and I don't want to see it. How about that? There you go. That's unpopular, I think.
I have mine.
Yeah.
That's, I feel like, going to shock y'all. I don't know if this is something y'all know about me. I don't like chocolate. I think chocolate is gross.
Wow, that might be the winner.
All chocolate?
Yeah, because
there's very few instances in which I can eat chocolate. But if you were to just hand me a chocolate bar and you have to eat this or you're gonna die, I'm gonna die.
Wow.
Yeah, no, I knew that
just
because when
straight
I
up
was
chocolate, like
and have
Hershey's,
chocolate and be
or
you want, you're like, no.
chocolate covered things.
I don't eat chocolate covered strawberries. I don't eat really. If I eat, I'm about to really throw myself under a bus here. If I was gonna eat a chocolate chip cookie, I'm gonna eat around the chocolate chips.
Wow.
For real though.
Strange.
Okay, I've never heard of that in my whole. Man, you're strange.
Can you touch me and transfer that skill so I can lose 50 pounds?
Yeah, me too.
That's my weight loss plan.
No,
I'm
I'm happy about that because that's just more chocolate for me because I love chocolate. So good for you. I like it. That's
The Beatles are
God bless.
overrated.
I agree with you.
Thank you. That's an unpopular opinion.
we've been down that road,
That's an unpopular opinion.
that Abbey Road.
Obamacare is a good thing. That's really unpopular. People are shocked when I say that for some reason.
No, haven't you heard Trump saved it and it's good now?
So it's good
but-
now.
I mean, none of that was true, but
It's
If you call it the Affordable Care Act, it's much more popular.
It's much more
yes,
popular.
the
Yeah.
Affordable Care Act. I
They
think
don't
it's
know.
a good
They
thing.
don't understand.
Yeah, there's a lot of unpopular opinions, but
Grease, chocolate, Obamacare,
and the Beatles.
and the
Taylor
Beatles.
Swift.
And I don't like Taylor
It is
Swift.
a-
So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm glad she said the chocolate thing, so it makes Taylor Swift seem better.
That's right.
Hi there. My name is Aiden Mitchell, and I was just curious, what historical figure did you guys find like the coolest, like in terms of their story, like their life?
You want to narrow it down to a region of the world, or are you just like American history, world history?
Maybe like your personal favorite, like one of them at least.
I am really a big fan of a dude named Toussaint Louverture, who was the leader of the revolt in Haiti that led to their ultimate, not just rebellion against France, but ultimately their independence. And I think his story is heroic and undertold, actually. Here's a guy who masterminded a rebellion against one of the most powerful nations on the planet at that time, and simultaneously then fought against Britain and Spain to hold off to try to maintain this, and put his life on the line continuously as a general, and then was actually eventually captured and taken off. And I'm not sure if he was tortured, but maybe because he was a thorn in their side. But his story is very impressive. To go from he himself born into slavery, to come out of that, get his freedom, become educated, become an enlightened person, become a general, then a politician, and to lead a nation of people out of bondage into freedom. He's very much like, if we want to go sort of Old Testament, he's very much like the Moses of Haiti, if you want to throw that out there. Like I think dude he's one of my favorite guys.
Gosh, that's so difficult. For some reason, George Patton jumped in my head. I read a book on him, or a whole book from Winston Groom called The Generals, and it detailed how he grew up in a very privileged background, kind of the bridge of time between old aristocratic type of upbringing to this renegade general who would sneak behind enemy lines with his frontline troops to see what was going on before the major offensive, to see if they could actually pull it off. I don't know, he just fascinates me, the whole mindset of you're born of privileged sense. And that helped him get ahead real quick, but where he would get down in the muck pretty quick with everybody.
I would, y'all know me, I have a list I could go. And I was going to say Teddy Roosevelt, but that's pretty obvious. Here's a video I showed to my class about a guy named Benjamin Banneker, not very famous, African-American, born in the 1770s, about the time our country was founded, born to free black parents in Massachusetts, taught himself to read, taught himself astronomy, taught himself agriculture, irrigation system, taught himself everything, and then made the first working clock in American history, and also helped to survey the land that Washington, D.C. is built on. I mean, this guy just did a million things, but one of the things he did is he wrote a letter to Thomas Jefferson arguing for civil rights way before anybody else was really doing it. It could be the first civil rights protest letter in American history.
What's his name?
His name is Benjamin Banneker.
How did we not know this?
Because he's not famous. When he died, mysteriously, all his papers, the clock, and all of his stuff at his house burnt, like literally the day of his funeral. So yes, because they're trying to spread this. By the time he died was 1807. That's the time the cotton gin's really kicking up, and they're trying to make an argument for slavery, that parental slavery, that blacks in America really couldn't work themselves up. This is the best they can do. And Benjamin Banneker was an intellectual, self-taught. He's the Frederick Douglass of the generation before. So I think he's courageous and genius. And can you just teach yourself how to read? So start there. That blows my mind. But besides all the other stuff that he was able to do.
I really, and this is going to sound strange when I say the name, because it's associated with what people perceive as bad things. It's Machiavelli, and it's because he wrote The Prince. And people say, oh, fascists like that book, and it tells you how to be a tyrant, and it tells you how to be a dictator. And actually, that's really not what it does. It's a political treatise. It's one of the first, sort of the birth of modern political science. And it's sort of a study on how to govern. And it's not how to be a dictator. It's how to govern different people in different circumstances and what to take into account and what to consider. But when we look at him now, we only talk about the people who used his book for justification of bad things, we'll say. So that would be mine, I think.
Well, we talked about that this week. Yeah, this week in class. And our military studies, that's required reading when you go to war college. To learn about the different mechanisms that are used, the misconceptions, how to govern different people. There's a line in there that says something like, for one must be able to rule, one must learn how to command, or something like that. And it's not all. I guess it does get a bad rep, but it's one of my proudest moments when we talked about it last year, and I've told this to you guys. about a week later, I looked down and a kid is reading The Prince. I was like, whoa. She's like, well, it kind of sounded interesting. So I went out and bought it. I was like, that's a win for Machiavelli.
Oh, I don't know if I could pick one. I've been sitting here thinking this entire time. I don't know if I've been teaching long enough to fully grasp and understand a favorite, because I think I tend to gravitate towards historical figures that are more relative to Arkansas, just because like there's a natural connection there, like, but living here.
Who pops up for Arkansas? Anybody?
I just, growing up, I had a like weird, I was reading everything about Maxine as possible. And I've told you that before, that I have a signed copy of her autobiography. It's just like a really interesting person, and it's so.
So who was Maxine? Tell us.
Oh. She owned I guess it would have been considered the brothel at the time, that was here on Central Avenue. And she was a madam. I don't know how much
she was
detail
she was super famous, and they pretty much let her do what she wanted to do.
Yeah, I mean, she pretty much controlled the local law enforcement.
Yeah.
They were in her pockets, at least, or she had them in her pockets. So.
You know what? I'm gonna throw another one out there that a lot of people don't know about with an Arkansas connection. Since you said that, there was a woman named Martha Mitchell from Pine Bluff who married into a political family. I mean, her family was already wealthy, and she was well known, but she became one of the major voices because her husband, I can't think of his name. What was his name? Nixon, help me. But anyway, her husband worked with the Richard Nixon administration and was involved not only as campaigning but also as Attorney General. I want to think I've got that right. But anyway, she listened in on all of her husband's sort of business dealings and stuff, and she knew about the Watergate scandal before it actually broke. And then once all of that starts to spill out, she's on the phone late at night with reporters from different news agencies, and they came down on her. John Mitchell, there you go. And she was at one time considered the most respected woman in America. But because of the Watergate scandal, they buried her. They made her look like a drunk fool. They wanted to say that she was insane. They drugged her and kept her locked away in a hotel room in California while her husband was trying to figure out how to do damage control around the Watergate thing that she had spilled the beans on. And they basically ruined her reputation, and she died divorced and broke. So it's an interesting story. It's tragic in its own way, but Martha Mitchell was a force to be reckoned with at one time, so you should look her up.
Hi, my name is Molly Outler, and I was wondering, what do you all think the most important thing to bring to college is that people normally forget?
Money. What they normally forget?
Do you want an example?
Yeah.
A toolbox or first aid kit?
Okay, yeah.
Do you have a reliable car, reliable transportation? You come to college with a beater, and you do not know how to problem solve, so you're stranded on the side of the road. You don't have self-service, so AAA can't come get you, and then you almost get kidnapped in a Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, know how to jumpstart a car, know how to change a tire, know how to, those types of things. That's where my mind went to.
Yeah, I mean, being the most recent college graduate sitting up here.
There we go.
Yeah.
I think girls tend to overpack for college. You will essentially have everything you need, and knowing your mom, you probably will as well. But the one thing that I always ran into in college that was a problem, and this could just be a me problem, I always had car problems, even though I thought I had a reliable car. And then I didn't know how to do anything. I still don't. I don't know how to jumpstart a car. I don't know how to change a tire. Nothing. And so every time something went wrong, I had to call my stepdad, and he had to drive 2.5 hours and come fix whatever was wrong. So maybe it's skills you need to bring with you, not things.
Okay, here's what I just received a text from my daughter-in-law. Said I need help. Every time I try to put air in my tire, it's a disaster. So I'm going to schedule this may be unpopular, say a powder puff mechanic session. Okay? All right? And I'm going to invite you, and I'm going to give some basic tutelage to my friend and peer, Diedrich here, and I will make fun of you the entire time because I'm petty like that.
My mom recently bought me a portable air compressor. I know how to air up my tires. And because I have tire problems frequently, so I know I can do that. It's the other things.
What do you got? Anything to add?
It's been so long since I was in college, I don't have no idea.
we don't know. Say yeah.
Let's see. When I went to college, made sure I had my 13-inch color TV. Sweet. I needed to make sure I had all the stuff. Had my
Sega
fake
Genesis?
ID. No, that was later. Fake ID. Those sort of things.
The skill to self-regulate and get up and go to class.
Go to class.
Somebody's paying a lot for you to be there, either through scholarships or you've done your whatever and you're working for it maybe. But you can ruin all of that with just bad habits. Like, I'll go tomorrow or the next. I'll do it later. Like, don't get in that habit. It's easy to enjoy the freedom because we've been so regulating you all of this time, like 13-something years, that we've been saying you will do and you'll go. But then all of a sudden you've got this open schedule and it's easy. I remember. I'm just gonna take it. I'll catch that up later.
Nobody's going to call your mom. Nobody cares. So you just got to go.
They're not going to check on you. They're going to be like, Mr. Franklin, I saw you weren't in class today. Is everything all right? Do I need to? No. They're like, you don't show up. They'll collect your money and send you on your way. Like, they don't. You miss so many classes, they're going to drop you from the class, too. That's the other thing. I didn't learn that the hard way, but I know people who did.
And college is not that hard. I know we have this mindset that, you're doing a lot of hard work now in high school. If you just go to class in college, you'll be fine.
Show up. Yeah.
Show up.
But consistently. But like I said, so sometimes there's hours in between classes, and you've got, I could go here and do this, and make sure that you've got a good way to regulate your time and to get where you need to be when you need to be there. It's a lot easier if you do, I promise.
My name is Madison Lee, and my question is, would you rather be stuck in a haunted house forever or be stuck on a deserted island handcuffed to a mime?
Handcuffed to a what?
A mime.
A mime.
Oh, haunted house.
Haunted house.
Yeah.
Although I wonder being by yourself, if you're truly by yourself in the haunted house, would not drive you crazy. At least with the mime, you could tickle him and see if you can get him going. Something.
Eventually, if you stay in the house long enough, you'll become one of the people haunting the house, and you'll have plenty of company there, and you can then mess with the next person. I'm picking haunted house. I just think it's more fun, more adventurous.
Crack out the Ouija board and make some friends.
Something. Yeah. I saw. This is gonna sound weird, but I think I want to do this. I'm not planning on dying, number one, but if I ever do, I saw a thing where somebody's grandma or whoever had since you brought up Ouija board, this reminded me of it, and she passed these out, or had it passed out at her, what do you call it when people come, the visitation?
Seance?
Yeah, no, it was not a seance, but it was like a little mini Ouija board with a picture on there, and the sign and the letter said, "Keep in touch," and I thought that was hilarious. You take a moment that's depressive and people are all, "Oh, and I miss you," but then you have this moment of levity. Like, I think that's just a cool...
I think it's important to note that Franklin said, "If I die," so he's onto something we do not know about.
He's been saying forever he's never going to die.
I'm not. You can't prove otherwise.
It's the power of positive thinking. What's that called? The Secret or something?
Yeah.
No, it's okay. So this came about 15, 20 years ago, I guess. Kids were like, something. So I just decided. I'm like, what's the secret to life? Not dying. Okay, so
still do it.
And I've had people argue with me. You can't live forever. You don't know that. You don't know that. And until it happens, I'm right. Okay. Now, granted, the odds are against me. I get that. However, I'm gonna make a hell of a run at it, boy. You watch.
Hi, I'm Henry York. Do you think the internet is socially progressing or detrimental to social progress? And if you absolutely had to choose, like you couldn't do anything until you did, if you had a button that would make the internet go away like it never existed, would you press it or would you not if you had?
I would not. I say that before AI's destroyed us all. But as of now, I wouldn't push the button. I do think it's detrimental in a certain way, and I will say it's the algorithms on social media sites that escalate the bad speech. See, algorithms discover that human nature, we click on things we either hate or love. And it's feeding off of human nature, and it's algorithms. It's not people necessarily. I think you could have, and I didn't come up with this, I just listened to somebody, I read a book about this recently. I think you could give freedom of speech to all humans on social platforms. What you could limit is the government or somebody limit the private company's algorithms. Those don't have free speech, and neither do bots. And if you could get rid of the algorithms that escalate bad speech and hide, things that we have in common with the other side, if you could get rid of that and you could get rid of bots, I think the internet would be vastly greater because we all live in our own little Truman Show that is catered. Like if you let's just say you have trouble with transgender people for whatever reason, and you type that in, it triggers that, and it's going to show you more and more of that until you think it's the worst problem in America. Now that's a problem because in reality it's not, right? But now you're in your own little personal Truman Show bubble, sharing it with other people that hate that. And so I'm just saying, like, I think freedom of speech is great for people, even if you say something horrible. But the algorithm's escalating it. That's got to go at some point, I think.
Well, you know, the internet is a tool like anything else, and wielded in the hands of people that are thoughtful and are willing to use it in a true sense. It's very useful. You know, I want to push the button because all of the knowledge and the data that is stored and is tied up into the cloud and the internet world and all that stuff. But it's like any other tool. It can be used for progress and change and positive things, or it can be used to destroy. You know, right? You know, jumping off we had that conversation a little bit in the hallway today. You know, the money aspect behind the internet is what drives a lot of the negativity behind things, I think, as with a lot of things. You get into that mode where everything is progressing so quickly. We, as a species, cannot adapt to dealing with it as fast as it's progressing with the advent of AI and the things that's coming out now. I mean, it's a very scary time, I guess, just if you look at it in that sense. But will we need to artificially pause things? You know, you're talking about limiting algorithms and sort of things. You know, the only problem with that, the thing about government oversight is the government. It doesn't always end real well for people because the people that are deciding what the oversight should be are people, and they have their own agendas and things like that. I don't know what the answer is.
But see, that to me is why you go after the bots and the algorithms and not the people. Let the humans say whatever they want to on these platforms. Yeah. Don't elevate the bad speech and the polarize it. Just let it go. Just let people find whatever they find, because I think the algorithms are the driving force. But of course, that's where they get their profit. So I don't know how to eliminate it. Let me say real quick the quote that I heard on some podcast. It struck me as pretty interesting. We have brains from the Paleolithic era. We have institutions from the medieval era. Yet we have godlike technology, which is it causes some confusion.
Do you think that social media usage specifically is kind of like junk food for people? Because you can get addicted to it. There's different studies on that, but it's almost like it's geared to make you want it more, to stay with inside it, and to crave that sort of the algorithms that are feeding you're going to want that and continue that, and then the algorithms will get even stronger because you are feeding the way that you've now been sort of programmed to. But I wonder, this is like, I'm not generally conspiratorially minded, but on one hand, I think that maybe this is the new version of bread and circuses. Let's keep most people entertained and dazzled with the nonsense that's spewing around online, while people who actually control things continue to control things and do what they do. While you're busy just arguing with each other, they get to do whatever they want to basically with impunity. So I don't know how much of that might be accurate, but it seems like it's plausible.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were talking the other day that we're essentially the last generation that knows what life was like before the internet. Yeah. And I don't think I would push the button, although I feel like I'm getting closer every day to it. But I pretty much agree with what they've said. I don't think that at this point, I think we're past the tipping point. I don't think that there's going to be any serious effort to rein it in. I don't feel like there's going to be any governmental oversight to any real degree, and that's because the government is controlled by corporations, and according to the Supreme Court, corporations have free speech. So,
yep.
How do countries regulate that? I don't even know how that works, because you hear things like, so China example or North Korea. How do you actually stop the internet from filtering through with the people? Is it because you control the servers in the country?
Yes. I mean, China has they call it the Great Firewall, and it pretty much controls all information coming in and out of the country. I mean, people use VPNs and other, and I'm not a computer person, ways to essentially hack around it, but it is that iron fist fascist kind of control.
I always wondered about
that.
You
take Brazil, who has banned Twitter in Brazil recently, And they did it by, we're going to shut down the local headquarters, the Brazilian headquarters. We're going to freeze all of their assets coming in and out of Brazil, and we're going to arrest the people that work at that facility.
But then Elon flew Starlink
Starlink.
over and got them back
And got
on.
'em back.
And that's kind of going back to my point of corporations.
By the way, are we for the internet? I don't know if we lost the question. We've been yelling about the internet, but I will say this: it has given so many people access to information that they would not have. It has connected people that wouldn't be connected.
Yeah.
I think it can be potentially great.
The promise of the internet, remember that? What it was going to do and how wonderful it was going to be. And I think it is that to a certain degree, but yeah.
Well, we were talking about the internet and change in class today, and the creation of the front-facing camera and the ability to post videos and share messages worldwide, and just think about the change. Because we was talking about the printing press and how that brought about change in the world. I was like, the internet may be your version of the printing press, how you cannot contain knowledge and people's thoughts and people's beliefs. It's going to eventually get out, And I don't know, maybe it's a little bit full of hyperbole, but I asked the question, would the Holocaust have happened if there was social media and cell phones and people to spread that message? Now, there's still genocides and things like that, of course, happening today, but to that scale. What do we stop? Because, regimes have fallen through social media and the internet. You look at the Arab Spring, all from the internet. Now, that caused other problems.
Side note, I've got to tell you this too. When the printing press was invented, I always thought, and even taught, printing press, scientific revolution. See how great it was to spread in literacy rates? But I found out from this book I read that actually, and they know this, I don't know why I didn't, for the first 150 years after the printing press, it wasn't science. People weren't reading how the planets move. It was how to kill witches. So that was their clickbait. The best-selling books besides the Bible that the printing press did for 150 years was about witches.
Well, King James, like King James Bible, wrote a book called Demonology about spotting witches, how to do it, and then what to do with them once you find them. So, yeah.
So maybe with the internet, we're in our witch phase, and maybe there'll be a scientific revolution afterwards. I don't know.
Cool.
Hello, my name is Leighton Cordell, and I just wanted to ask you guys if you could give anybody in here, just like from your life, some financial advice, kind of just like move forward in our futures with, like what would it be?
All right, this is you've got the take on this.
Same thing I always say: no debt except enough to build up some credit, with your parents co-signing. So take a small debt so you can get some credit, but other than that, stay away from credit cards and high interest rates. Just stay out of debt, and it gives you freedom. That's my takeaway. Because once you have a lot of debt that you have to make payments on each month, then you're married to a job, and it ties you down. So the less debt, the more freedom you have. Now, eventually, you want to own some land, because your goal should actually be owning land, house, not renting your whole life, but actually owning, so you can pass it to your children and things, because that's the one thing you can give them is real estate. So I would have the goal of owning something, so that might incur a big debt later, but I would be financially secure first. So keep your debt low, which means as soon as you hit 18, they're going to start sending you credit card stuff. Just try to ignore most of that, and don't get into a big debt.
Kind of our financial philosophy was always, if we both lost our job today, could we go find minimum wage job, keep the lights on, keep the heat on, and keep our house from being repossessed? And everything was kind of structured around that. And if you can't pay cash for it, don't get it. Now, there's some big items like maybe a vehicle and a house. That's not what I'm talking about. But if you need to go buy $2,000 worth of clothes on the credit card, don't do it.
And keep your credit good. Because once you get bad, like you can't make your payments and your credit starts to drop, it is such a steep climb to get that credit back up. But if you keep high credit, you've got some security there, because you can get a loan if you really
you've got
need
some leverage.
But what you have to understand about credit, we have our house paid off. My wife's vehicle's paid off. I'm about to pay off my vehicle. And I'm getting a little older, so we have a financial advisor getting us prepped towards retirement. And he was saying, man, you got to buy something to have some credit, because it's going to hurt you. if you ever need it, which is kind of a
Yeah,
backwards
pay
way to
something off
think.
too quick.
You have to keep credit to keep good credit, unfortunately.
Yeah, keep
But
a little debt and
little.
don't pay it off too quick because that actually it's crazy. But also compounding interest is something too. Putting a little bit into a savings account over months and months. People forget compounding interest is powerful. So actually, besides low debt, my advice would be start putting even if it's $5 a month to start with, because 10 years down the road, that's some money. So that's something else.
When you get your job and they say, do you want your 401k and your retirement? Yes. How much? The entire amount. How can you reduce your pre-tax dollars? The entire amount. Save. When you get a raise, put the raise in the savings account. And then, because if you're living and you're making it, don't say, well, I'm going to go buy a new car because I got a $100 a month raise. No. Put that raise in savings account. And then go buy a new car 2 years later and pay cash for it and have equity for it. And you're not paying someone else for the privilege of driving your vehicle.
I don't think I'm in the space to give financial advice as a new adult. My only piece of advice maybe I would give, and this is more from like watching other people and seeing this thing, and this is probably more directed to y'all because some of y'all are about to go to college or that's in the next couple of years. If you have to take out student loans, make sure you're only taking out what you need. I know people that have taken out student loans to not only just live on, and I know some people need to do that. You need to pay rent and you need to pay whatever, and so you can continue to go to school. But I know people that took out student loans to go on vacations and things like that. And now they're having to refinance their debt and move it around and compact it and all this stuff. And we're just hitting our mid-20s and we're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars in loans, and it took them 6 or 7 years to get their degree. Get in, get out, and spend as little money as possible.
No, that's awesome advice. Yeah, don't dilly-dally in college. Get in, get out, and go use that degree.
And don't go to college unless you know what you're going for. I mean, look, if you get it paid for, go. But if you got to pay a lot of money up front and you don't even know what you want to do, take a year.
That would also make the decision on where you go more important than you may realize too, because you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, or you can spend less than that and get a degree that is just as viable in the job market. There may be certain things that you have to go at certain places you have to go for certain types of jobs, but generally speaking, you got a whole lot of options, and they don't have to be, you don't have to be $100,000 in debt by the time you leave. You don't have to.
Hello, my name is Jack Bolin, Ken of Nixon. I just wanted to ask y'all, what do you think is the best genre of music, and what band?
In our personal opinion, yes.
Charlie really likes the Beatles.
Personal opinion.
Yeah.
Metal,
Yep,
hard rock,
I'm with you.
metal,
I'm with you.
Metallica, best band all time.
I'm going straight up classic rock, late 60s through the 70s, early 80s, mixing some hair bands there maybe as well. Maybe I slide into the 90s, but really classic era stuff. All-time favorite, Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, ZZ Top. I could just go back into, like I said, Black Sabbath, stuff like that. Those are my go-to bands. Van Halen, and I always go back to it. It lifts me. Regardless, yeah. If my mood is aggressive, we'll go, heavier. But if I want something mellow, I can find that too. It's just there's such an eclectic variety of things in those eras.
My favorite artist is not a band, so I don't know if I can choose that. But if I was going to pick something that's a band, it's ABBA. I love ABBA.
Hey, ABBA rocks. Ain't nothing wrong with ABBA.
I like too many genres. I mean, my playlist skips around. So, I mean, what was it? I don't know how many years ago you made fun of me because I had a Billie Holiday playlist. And no one knows who that is except for you. I'm an 80s kid too, and I liked the sort of the second coming of Aerosmith, I'll say. Probably one of my favorites. It was one of my first concerts, and probably still one of my favorite. But yeah, I mean, I like almost everything.
I regret as a young person, I was not open to more genres of music. I was kind of closed-minded of what I've listened to and things like that. As I've aged, I've gotten more and more and more. It's like, I can't believe I didn't listen to that more as a kid. But, again, the first music that I heard that made the hair on my arms stand up was Metallica. It's like, this is the greatest thing ever. And it was the B-side of the one single. I remember it to this day. I said, ooh, that's a cool song. So I bought the $1.99 cassette, one song on the front, one song on the back, and I flipped it on the back, and I was like,
Is that the first music you ever bought?
No, but I bought that, and I always liked music, and it's cool. But I was like,
what?
This is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my life.
What is it? First music you ever bought then? Because I'll tell you mine. I'll throw it out there real quick. The first single that I ever bought, because you could do that back in the day. I bought Queen's Another One Bites the Dust. That's the first one I bought with my own money. And then LP, I bought Van Halen 1. Like I said, it's been one of my favorites ever since.
I cannot remember my first piece of music I ever bought, but I remember I thought the best piece of music at the time I ever bought. It wasn't because of the music, but it was the Motley Crue's Dr. Feelgood album, and we talked the guy at the local video rental store into ordering for us, and it had parental advisory on it, and we weren't supposed to get it, but he ordered for us anyway, and we snuck in there and bought it, and we thought we were the coolest dudes ever. Because it's like, ooh, we're not supposed to get this.
Parental
So, but that was like 90s, yeah?
Yeah, that's 90s.
Because that's kind of a similar story. I don't remember the first piece of music I bought, but I remember that I got Jagged Little Pill, and his mom got very mad at me because siblings, fight and argue, and she told my mom that I had Jagged Little Pill, which is very explicit and before ratings.
Well, I mean, I remember
did she
buying
get in
the
trouble?
Poisons and the...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I got in trouble. Of course. I got her back. That's fine. I'm not bitter.
Yeah.
Maybe the first thing I ever bought was, it might have been when I was a little kid, Purple People Eater. Does anyone remember that?
My little granddaughter loves Purple People Eater. She was singing
Purple
all
People
day,
Eater.
every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. And
That is
the Oak Ridge Boys.
still a good song.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, look it up.
Yeah.
Purple People Eater.
I know
You know
it.
it?
Yeah.
Great. I like you already.
All right. Pumphrey, you didn't say anything.
Thank you. Those answers make me happy.
60s surfing music, Beach Boys, glam rock 80s, Bon Jovi, 90s R&B, Boys to Men, pop punk, Blink-182, alternative rock, that's harder, folk rock, maybe Dave Matthews. Okay, that's enough.
Just go watch him at the Arlington, and he'll go
Yeah,
through
yeah,
all
yeah.
of the
I'll follow all
decades.
that,
My name's Legend Carter, and I was wondering what your guys' favorite empire or country or kingdom or any sort of power throughout history.
How many times a day do you think about the Roman Empire?
Oh, God.
I like the empire of the United States.
Yes.
I mean, we are
I
an
pledge
empire by every
allegiance
definition.
to the empire of the United States.
Last week was Celebrate Freedom Week, so yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and that's what I study. But I mean, I actually do. The United States is an empire by just about every definition. We're the largest empire that's ever lived or existed by people, by technology.
Not the longest lasting.
No, not the longest. We're maybe the shortest. We'll see what happens in November. But yeah, I think I really enjoy the United States.
We like
that's
our
a boring
imperial
answer.
Should go down the row and all say that and make sure everyone hears it.
Yes. If anyone at the State Department's listening, the United States of America is our favorite empire.
Arkansas
officially.
is the best state.
Yeah. Man, we've talked about you brought that up. We've already talked about several this year that I'm really big fans with. Like I harp a whole lot on Ashoka's empire in India during the Mauryan dynasty. Like that dude is great. Even though it didn't last as long after him. Yeah, he's a really great leader. So anyway, longevity probably, golly, maybe the Zhou dynasty and I don't know if they count as an empire or not, but like almost 800 years worth of rule over United China. I'm still gonna go to the United States. Just let's pat ourselves on the back. Good job, us.
We do more good than bad, I think.
Well, I hope so.
I think so.
And we're a republic. We've kept it this long. That's not bad.
An imperial republic. That's quite a combo.
It is kind of combo.
Ironically, a Supreme Court justice recently wrote a book called "A Republic If You Can Keep It."
There you go, Diedrich.
I was just thinking about this one thing we teach in AP Comparative as an example. Is it Molossia? Is that?
Yeah, the Republic of Molossia. That's micronation. Go for it.
What did you just say?
In Molossia, it's this micronation in the United States that it's basically he's a dictator and he thinks that he's still at war with
East Germany.
East Germany. Right now, he still thinks he's at war with East Germany.
All right, what was it about? What? Who is this?
He also has his own
Here in the United States, there's a guy who thinks he's like this ultimate self-sovereign.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, he got his own flag and.
So obviously, I've handed the baton of AP Comparative over to Emily, but this is one of my favorites as well. But this guy it's a micronation.
In what state?
Nevada. But he's claimed it's his. It's a country, and that he has his own.
You say his name was Mufasa? What did you?
Molossia.
Molossia.
It's Molossia, and he's the benevolent dictator. I can't think of his name. But their money is they have their own money. It's relative to Pillsbury cookie dough, right?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the value of it is relative to.
They also
cookie
have
dough.
their own like rocket facility.
Space
facility.
agency where they like shoot model rockets.
Is it those little Estes rockets? You like the firecracker?
Yeah, essentially.
Okay.
He's a little crazy, and I encourage you to look him up.
Yeah.
All right, can do. That's
micronations, fascinating.
My name is Cooper Campbell, and I wanted to ask if you guys think the Fountain of Youth is real and the Florida Everglades is a protected place, a protected national park because they're hiding it there.
Is the what real? I didn't catch
The
that.
Fountain of Youth.
Fountain of Youth.
Okay.
Ponce de Leon.
He's going to live forever.
I already found it. It's there.
It was only about 3 years ago. It stops you where you're at.
I'm 75 years old. You can't even tell, right?
That would be a good secret to keep. I mean,
Yeah, if you had one, you'd have to keep that secret, right?
But you'd want to make money off of it eventually.
Well, have y'all ever heard the conspiracy theory that all of the national parks were made to hide something that the U.S. government knows is there, but we don't, supposedly?
Yeah, that's a movie called National
Treasure.
1 and 2.
No, not that. Because if you line up like the cave systems in the United States with the national park systems, they almost like completely overlap. So they think that, what is it called, the blue people? That one of the theories that all the blue people live in the caves under the United States.
And there's a correlation between the number of people that go missing or is highest in those areas. It's a whole thing.
Holy shit, man! I do not spend enough time on the internet.
Don't turn it off till Ron gets on the internet. Just a little bit.
The book, The Time Machine?
Hi, I'm Henry York again. What kind of hobbies would you guys recommend?
Whatever relaxes you. That's the hobby. Something that's not stressful to do. Whatever it is. It doesn't matter. Whatever it is. You enjoy it. You don't have to be good at it. It doesn't stress you out. That's it.
It's legal. You
Depending on what state.
hesitated?
Depending on what state. The law code is a complicated thing. Do I?
You start your own country. Yeah, I don't. I mean, yeah, what works for somebody might not work for somebody else. So I agree. Is it collecting things? Is it hanging out with your friends? Is it creating something? Is it doing a podcast? Whatever it could be. Yeah, just find something that's relaxing and fulfilling. That's the hobby for you, man.
My name's Jacqueline, and my question is what you guys think about Yugoslavia and if it was a good state.
What do we think about Yugoslavia? It was one of the best Slavias. Oh, so many Slavias.
Not very good car.
Yugoslavia, Wegoslavia, Thegoslavia, It was problematic from the start because after World War I, when the Western powers decided to start arbitrarily drawing lines around people and ignoring the fact that there were ethnicities who may not be able to get along with each other or political realities, and we have this history and they have that history, and they just drew a line around them and said, "You're going to love it, it's Yugoslavia," and people were like, "What the hell is Yugoslavia?" They go, "No, don't worry about it. You are Yugoslavia," and it was a bitter rivalry from the very beginning. Serbia tried to dominate. And eventually, they go to war with each other. And then we have to start dropping bombs to help with the freedom, because that's what we do. And the whole thing fell apart from there. So,
but it's a beautiful area. If you ever get a chance to go through that area.
That's not a knock against the people or the place.
Republic.
It's the,
That should be our new motto.
What's that?
We drop bombs to help with the freedom.
That's right, yeah. That's what we do.
Well, there's a great...
Because we're the greatest empire.
Freedom from 60,000 feet.
If you ever go to Bossier City, Shreveport area...
What's that got to do with Yugoslavia?
You have... No, just listen.
Okay.
Is everywhere there... That's the largest B-52 bomber base in America. And all around you have the sticker. It's got the B-52 swept wing bomber. It looks like a peace sign, but it's the plane. It says peace the old-fashioned way.
That's what we do.
That's what we do.
That's how we maintain.
Don't start
our
no more
imperial
meetings.
status. Don't start
Unless we start it first.
Excellent.
And then we'll.
Yeah. So I'm curious about your
curiosity
about Yugoslavia. Did you have a reason that came up?
I will not be sharing.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's all right.
Let's keep some things secret.
In remembrance
of
Yugoslavia, everybody.
All right, now. Hey! Thank you for coming,
everybody. Thank you so much for
Thank you.